Oh, we are recording. Welcome to the Shall We Football Podcast. On this podcast, we talk football and only football, so help us God. This is Season 2, Episode 7. Gentlemen, we've done a bunch of these bad boys. We're talking free agency. AJ, unveil the title, please. Your glorious title. Fill in holes. Classy NFL free agency analysis on the Shall We Football Podcast. AJ has assembled this outstanding PowerPoint. Coming up, we will talk a little bit later to Paul of the Outside The Huddle Podcast. He'll join AJ for an interview, free agency analysis, and general shenanigans. Paul is from the UK. You're going to love this conversation. If his interview is anything like our Twitter DMs, he is phenomenal. So stay tuned for that, but we're going to give our own input on NFL free agency first, our own shenanigans. Oh, how does this make you feel? The New York Giants signing Kenny Golladay to $1 bazillion. AJ, what are the details on this contract? It's humongous.
It's large. How does this make us feel?
I feel like, are we going to go through all of the Giants free agency or just Kenny Golladay?
No. These are the ones that made me feel things.
Okay. I feel like they way overpaid for Kenny Golladay. Between he and ADOREE Jackson, they have played a total of 8 games in this season in 2020. And there's a lot of money tied up in that. I believe Kenny Golladay signed for about $18 million a year. So I feel like that's a bit of a stretch.
That made me feel a couple of things. My fantasy team, one of them supposedly had Kenny Golladay on it last year. Can't really.
As did mine. Yeah, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah. It's
going
like
from Matthew Stafford and injuries to Daniel Jones has to make you feel things about your fantasy transaction there.
Yeah, I'm not super high on Golladay going into this year based on having owned him the last 2 years and then what he gave us or what he didn't give us last year by way of the world's worst hip injury ever. He missed week 1 and maybe even week 2 with a hammy. Yeah, I'm concerned about his overall health. He's 28. I think he's a hell of a player.
He's 28, dude. He's practically dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wide receiver, just put him in the grave now.
Yeah, contested catch monster. Separation's not really his game. I do think this, in general, upgrades the Giants' offense, not necessarily upgrades Golladay.
Yeah, let's talk about it from that angle. So it obviously upgrades the Giants' offense. We've had them taking
nobody.
Well, we've had them taking Jalen Waddle and Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is never going to make it that far. We've had them taking Jalen Waddle, all kinds of skilled players. Devontae Smith. Yeah.
That's off now. Yeah.
All that at 11.
So just like the Giants now having Kenny Golladay and me now wearing this hat, where does this put?
I missed the last part. I was distracted by your hat.
Right. So the answer is Kwity Paye or Rashawn Slater to the New York Giants with their first round pick. I was talking to someone on the Twitters, not DMs. We're not that close, but I was talking to someone on Twitter today, and the Giants now have a luxury pick.
Yeah.
At 11, they do. If they are going to commit to Daniel Jones, they have a luxury at 11. Sure, I get that.
Yep.
But they got Kenny Golladay. They also picked up another wide receiver in John Ross, who underperformed in Cincinnati after running a 3.4 second 40, apparently, in the combine and getting selected in the top 10. So they got Golladay, they got Burner and Ross. They are all in on seeing if Daniel Jones is their guy. And we'll figure it out. Dave Gettleman has 1 year to prove it.
Yep. To me, this is Gettleman doubling down on himself by surrounding Jones with offensive playmakers to see I wasn't wrong in Daniel Jones.
Yeah. So the Titans cut ADOREE Jackson and just to save like $16 or $13 million. And The Giants signed him for 16. So we'll see.
The more you guys talk right now, the more you ruin this presentation. That I
Too
put
much,
together
Paul.
for
Sorry.
everyone.
How does JJ Watt make you feel, AJ?
Oh man, there's a famous restaurant in Pittsburgh. It's actually, no, I'm not going to comment on that. It's a fine restaurant. It's called Permane Brothers, and they tweeted out that if JJ Watt would have joined Derek and TJ, they would have changed it to the Watt Brothers instead of Permane Brothers. They seem serious. We'll never find out though, because JJ Watt wanted to help his circulation and head out west and maybe make the blood better. I don't know. He's headed to the Cardinals, and I guess I wish him the best. Disappointed he didn't go to Pittsburgh. I don't know what this does for the Cardinals. What does he even have left in the tank at this point?
Cool.
I think he's got enough to be an impact player. Not every down, but certain situations, key third downs. I think Watt, he's still that impact player. Maybe 70% of the guy he once was.
Still ain't bad.
What's that?
Still ain't bad.
Yeah, he's still not bad at all. I thought you said still bad. Oh.
No, still not bad. 70% of old JJ Watt is still good.
I personally think that's kind of where he is right now. I mean, all the injuries he's had in his career and everything too, but I think he'll definitely be an improvement to his line, given a little
I think
pass
he's got
rush.
2 years left in the tank in Arizona.
Yeah.
It looks like Arizona's the place people are going to retire. AJ Green also signed with the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
That's definitely not one of the slides for later. So don't worry about it, guys.
TYRELL Williams.
You know what? I don't want your thoughts. I just want your feelings. Feeling words, gentlemen. Colt, go.
Yawn.
Nice. Ryan.
That's an excellent word for it. My word is eh.
That's my word. That's my word. Was my word for this.
Well together.
Mine was okay? Question mark.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Sure, whatever you think.
And
yeah, $4.7 million. He's a body.
Yeah.
Okay, so you let Kenny Golladay walk, and this, I don't know what you think this does for us.
And Marvin Jones.
Yep.
Yeah. Eh.
Oh wow, we talked about him earlier. Guys.
Sorry, AJ.
You guys.
My feeling about this is good riddance. As a Titans fan, nobody really wanted him there anymore. He didn't play very much in 2020. He was injured all year. And when he did play before that as a first-round draft pick, he underperformed. So good riddance. Take him.
Yeah, he went to USC, and he's barely tall enough to ride all the rides at most theme parks.
That seemed vindictive.
A little spiteful. Yeah, I think this is kind of just a whatever signing to. It doesn't move the needle much for me.
Outrageous athlete, didn't perform on the football field, unfortunately.
Yeah, his rookie year, he came in pretty strong, and it just never happened. You hate to see that for a guy from USC. Right. You know, you hate to see guys coming from Southern California and just being terrible. And
it's a shame. It's a real shame.
Sitting on footballs, losing games, and being Mark Sanchez. You just hate to see it.
Shame.
Yeah. Hey.
Take that one.
This makes me feel a little tingly.
Hunter Henry, tight end. New England Patriots.
This makes my ween wiggle a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a little jazzed about this one too.
Yeah, he obviously produced in Los Angeles, going into a system that is tight end friendly with Josh McDaniels. And you know, Cam Newton is going to need somebody in those underneath and short middle of the field routes that can haul in a bunch of catches, and Hunter Henry is exactly that guy.
Yeah, he'll say to Cam, "Let me be your Greg Olsen."
Ooh.
2.0.
If they even go with Cam Newton this year, I've heard grumblings that Cam may not be the guy. It's not going to be Jared Stidham though.
So
No, I don't think that either.
where does that leave us then? If it's not going to be Stidham, it's not going to be Newton.
Mac Jones, baby.
Mac Jones. They've left their options open for a lot of guys. They still have $30 or $40 million left of cap space to spend. So
which is absolutely insane based on how much
money they spent already. They've still got half the cap.
We have a couple players that are going to them just in this list here. Part 2 is gonna be next week because there's just too much going on. Part 2 could just talk about the Patriots, what they've done, and what they can do with the money they got left. It's absurd.
Yeah,
they came out swinging day one.
They really did.
Oh, here's that guy.
Yeah.
Hey.
Also gone to Arizona to retire. Great golf in Scottsdale.
Oh yeah, so I've heard.
Great golf. Don't know if AJ Green golfs.
He's a good athlete. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. Yeah, golf is about pure athleticism.
Yeah. Got to know how to move.
And golf has everything to do with pure athleticism and nothing to do with vindictive self-hatred.
Not at all.
Couldn't have said it better.
There's no bit of that in golf. This actually moves the needle for me. I feel yummy about this.
I kind of do too a little bit. I think it could give him a resurgence in his career that he needs.
Yeah, I absolutely think that. I think this is maybe what we'll see from him is, I don't know, late stage, like poor man's DeAndre Hopkins. Could we go there? Could we go there?
I think that's probably a little ambitious for where AJ Green is in his career. He is, let's find out exactly how old he is.
33.
He's my age. I ain't gonna be out there running routes anytime soon. He's obviously in much better shape than I am, but he does have a young, exciting quarterback, one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league, in Kyler Murray. He's got DeAndre Hopkins on the other side of the ball to kind of take that pressure off. I think AJ Green really could have, if not probably not a great year, he could have a really decent year though.
I totally agree. Is there any chance that you can remove your microphone from underneath your area?
Unfortunately not.
Duly noted. I accept it and I respect it. Moving on. Patrick Peterson, cornerback, Minnesota Vikings.
Call Lizzo. Somebody call Lizzo.
Ooh. $10 if anyone sings that one song that I know that I'm thinking of right now.
Truth hurts.
On the Minnesota Vikings. Woo! You know what's crazy is we don't even drink. This is just al natural.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This is weird. This is weird for me to see a guy who spent his entire career at one place. It's not quite Tom Brady weird, but it's still weird.
It is weird. And we had been talking throughout the course of the season that Patrick Peterson, I almost said Patrick Patterson. He dunked on me when we were in high school. Patrick Peterson.
Did you get him back?
No, he was huge.
Yeah.
He was in 9th grade basketball. He played for Huntington High School. But Patrick Peterson, we talked about it throughout the season, didn't look like young, spry, uber athlete Patrick Peterson. You heard his name called quite a bit this year, which tends to happen as corners age because quarterbacks start to throw at him a little bit more. And he kind of got exposed a little bit this year just in that natural digression of athleticism that age brings.
Damn athleticism.
This
is a guy that I could see having a Charles Woodson, in all honesty, having a Charles Woodson type resurgence at safety. I would love to see them move him over, especially with with Anthony Harris.
Yeah.
Headed somewhere that we may find out about later.
Pair him up with Harrison Smith, and they could be a dangerous 1-2 punch as safeties.
Yeah.
We talked about maybe Peterson moving to safety a couple of weeks ago, and I think
did.
that's going to be the best thing for him. This makes me feel things.
This is Will Fuller, wide receiver,
Notre Dame,
to the Miami Dolphins.
This makes me feel things. The Dolphins were a just trash heap of talent on the offensive side of the football. People wanted to almost write Tua Tagovailoa off after his first year as a starter, saying he didn't perform. Who the hell was he throwing the ball to? Preston Williams? Nobody was healthy.
Mac Hollins.
Okay, all right. Well, I think Preston Williams and Parker and whenever they've still got Mike Gesicki can catch the ball a little bit. We're not talking about the New York Jets. Okay.
No.
I think it's fair to say that what they provided to it was better than what the Jets provided, whatever the hell they trotted out behind the center.
Yeah.
That is fair, but it wasn't
great.
Significantly better.
This, however, moves me off of Jamar Chase at 3 and on to Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
Instead, like Colt has been doing. Ryan and I had been on Chase for a while. I actually think this kind of moves that off there just a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, but they're still gonna. I think they're in a flip a coin situation in that war room right now between generational offensive tackle and generational wide receiver.
Yeah.
Flip a coin, pick which one you want.
I'm pretty stoked to see Fuller land here. I mean, how will Tua utilize him? That's what I want to see, because I feel like Fitzpatrick brought out the best in Devontae Parker. Tua did not as much. Now, that could be Tashan Gailey being conservative with Tua. I don't know, but I feel like Will Fuller is the most dynamic pass catcher they have right now. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see what that does. And also moving on from Chan Gailey, hopefully opening up the playbook a little bit more for Tua, it's not being nearly as conservative, taking some risks, taking some shots.
Let me put it this way. Will Fuller is the fastest player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
If only he could consistently catch the football, he'd be great.
If only he could, have like working legs for 16 games a year.
He made it through a season. Yeah, he made it through all last season. He missed one game, I think, against the Ravens.
He got suspended.
He got suspended. Well, no, he missed a game with injury, but he was suspended for PEDs, which what are these correlated? He made it through a season, but he was also using PEDs.
At some point, I get it.
Yeah,
I think at some point you receive a certain amount of placements on the IL for a hamstring injury, and then you get to use PEDs.
Yeah.
There's a threshold. It's in the new CBA.
That's why it took him so long.
Yeah. It's in the new CBA.
It's all making sense.
I see what you did.
Yeah.
I don't think this necessarily moves Chase totally out of the running for 3, because these are two different players entirely between Will Fuller and Jamar Chase. And frankly, if you want to use Will Fuller to where he's going to be healthy for a full season, you might use him a handful of times a game, and it might be in very specific situations. So Jamar Chase is still on the table. I do like Parker and the rest of that
they're healthy. They're
catching core. Yeah, they are.
Love this.
This doesn't make me sad. Well, that's my feeling word. It doesn't make me sad. This is Bud Dupree, edge rusher from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Tennessee Titans. Go ahead, overpay, take him. It's fine.
That was a huge need for the Titans. And anybody that's going to make that early jump in free agency is going to tend to overpay. Does Bud Dupree live up to the contract that he was dealt? Probably not.
No, don't think so.
But Is he a huge, massive upgrade from what they had before, which is basically no one? Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Are you saying Jadeveon Clowney is who they had, right?
Yeah. It was an
I
overpay that was
don't
almost
think Bud
necessary.
DUPREE he's not a clear upgrade over Jadeveon Clowney. I don't think.
I like Jadeveon Clowney. I'm not thinking he's as big a bust as a lot of people are saying that he is.
No, I don't either.
But I mean, he was a good player. Does Bud DUPREE? His contract is only $35 million guaranteed. So if he doesn't play it down, that's only $7 million a year off the cap. So that's really not that bad. It's incentive laden. It could be worth up to $85 million, but that is assuming that he reaches those incentive thresholds. So it looks like the Titans kind of protected themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can justify handing out a handing out a contract like that is to put in just enough red tape to keep it from paying the number that they're actually.
85 is a big number.
Pen to paper
35 for 5 years is a much more manageable number.
Yeah. Gentlemen, Anthony Harris was the best safety in football not long ago. And he's now moving from the Minnesota Vikings, working daily with Harrison Smith, to that mess in Philadelphia. In the best city in the best city in the country.
I need to see more from the Eagles, honestly.
Yeah. Hey, they signed Joe Flacco today.
They did sign Joe Flacco.
They did sign Joe Flacco.
Yeah. Well, it also tells me
Good
that
for
hopefully
them.
we won't be chugging 12.5 ounces of maple syrup.
That's true.
Yeah.
Our
On our
pancreases
Twitter.
are safe.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're probably gonna talk about this every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good signing to keep Jalen Hurts comfortable. Somebody that can kind of guide him through these early days of his NFL career. Joe Flacco's been around the block. He's had success. He's had failure. How many years ago was it that Joe Flacco signed for $1 billion with the Ravens? It wasn't that many years ago.
4 or 5, maybe.
And now he's playing on
I thought it
a
was longer
1 year,
than that.
$3.5 million deal.
The
Elite.
Times they are changing. Yannick Ngakoue, edge rusher, third down specialist. And when I say specialist, I really fucking mean specialist.
That's all he plays is third down.
He plays on third down. Other than that, he's playing Candy Crush in the corner.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Now he plays for the Raiders. You know what? I don't think this solves your defensive end position. I think it solves your third down pass rush specialist position, which is important.
Sure.
But this guy defends the run as poorly as he defends the pass well.
Yeah.
Defends the pass, rushes the passer extraordinarily well. He does it on the total opposite side of the spectrum against the run. It's so starkly different.
Okay, I'm going to set an over-under for you guys right now. Does Yannick Ngakoue equal his contract number per year in sacks, which would be 13 a year?
No.
I don't think so either.
I go under.
Yeah, I go under as well. You think back to when he had his big years with the Jaguars, that defensive line was about as good as it got in the NFL at that point. Yep. Or, I mean, Malik Jackson and Calais Campbell, first-round pick Taven Bryan. Not Gerald McCoy. Another defensive tackle picked around that same time that recently retired, also on that line. They were stacked.
To me, this is splashy, but it's a
Yeah.
very surface level splash. It doesn't solve much.
No. The Raiders are probably the most confusing team to be in free agency right now.
Yeah. I love this for the Jets.
Yeah.
This is Corey Davis, wide receiver, going to the. Are they still hapless? Are we still considering them
Currently
hapless?
still hapless. Yeah, they haven't made it
Yeah.
out of
Currently still
territory
hapless. The New York Jets, who failed at everything from winning to losing.
yet. Yeah.
They couldn't even win right. Yeah.
They couldn't win right. They couldn't lose
Couldn't
right.
lose right. Yeah. I love this signing for the Jets. They've made a couple of investments that show that no matter who is taking snaps, they're gonna have somebody to throw to. Corey Davis is a good player.
I want to see them go after a tight end. We're still waiting on Chris Herndon.
Yeah.
Chris Herndon will be back as soon, not before or after, as Texas is back, which we're hoping is just around the corner.
Sarkeesian, fucking fat out.
Find out.
Oh man.
I don't know if there's
Yeah.
too much about this. This gives the Jets a human body that moves at a faster pace and with higher jumpings than the last ones. Rashad Perriman is gone, and
I think that's
Jameson Crowder's still there.
this is a bigger loss for the Titans than it is in addition for the Jets.
Agreed.
This one
Yeah,
doesn't
Corey
really
Davis.
move the needle much for me. Although,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll agree with you about the loss for the Titans. Sure, it's fine.
Yeah, he was a first round pick, wasn't he? Like 3 or
He
4
was.
years ago.
He was a top 7. I think he was
Whoa.
number 5.
He was
Wow.
a very, very high draft pick.
So yeah,
Coming
he's
out of
definitely
Western Michigan.
okay.
That's correct. Picked just before, if I remember correctly, one Kevin.
Mr. White, I think you're thinking.
Kevin
of.
White.
Yeah.
Oh, he never even saw the field.
I'll tell you
He was
what.
hurt.
He was magical at West Virginia.
Yes, he was.
He was incredible at West Virginia.
Colt, if you're feeling frisky, go back and watch Kevin White at WVU. That dude
Yeah,
was
but only if you're
baller.
feeling zesty, bud.
Okay.
He was so good.
Real good. This isn't quite as splashy as the skill position players we've been dealing with. But Kevin ZEITLER, offensive guard to the Baltimore Ravens. They need this. This is crazy important for them.
Yeah.
Orlando Brown, is he still complaining?
He's always complaining. Yes.
Okay, he's always
Yep.
complaining. It's because he's
Yep.
from Oklahoma, is really what I'm gathering from it.
Fair.
Yeah,
Sooners like to complain.
This is super important for them. It also pretty much takes interior offensive linemen off the table with their first round pick, so they can get someone to help rush the passer, or potentially get like a Rashad Bateman or a Terrence Marshall, a big body guy, to go up and get the slightly errant Lamar Jackson passes.
Yeah. I would not be surprised to see them sign another Oklahoma guy right there. And to help their edge, they may reach for Ronnie Perkins right there.
He's moving up boards. He's moving up boards big time. And the only reason he's not moving up some boards is because they don't have time to update their boards as fast as we consume their information. That's
Yeah.
the only reason why he's not higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
go get
could see
Ronnie
that.
Perkins. They love OU guys there. They got Marquise Brown. They got Mark Andrews. They got Orlando Brown. Bring in another center.
Gentlemen, I would like to revisit the New England Patriots and their tight end frenzy, and JONNU Smith also leaving Ryan Tannehill and company in Tennessee and heading up to Mass.
This does less for me than Hunter Henry, for sure.
Yeah.
Johnny Smith's a good player.
Yeah.
His first 2 years, he had like 25 total catches.
Yes.
My thing with JONNU is his athleticism.
Yes.
Get the ball in his hands. I mean, he did it a couple times last year. Just a short little slant, take it to the house.
You know who's going to
He's
be
fast,
as
he's big.
as JONNU Smith coming into this draft is Tommy Tremble.
Phew. Yeah.
This is who he's going to be top comped with.
Okay.
There's no way JONNU Smith blocks the way that, if you're talking about athleticism, untapped potential, yeah. And
Yeah.
lack of hands, yeah.
But blocking, no.
Blocking, Tommy Tremble is as ferocious as it gets.
He's a
But if
beast.
we're talking about that, I can see the untapped athletic potential and it looks like Tremble. Side note, it looks like Tremble's made a pretty good decision coming out with what's happening at Notre Dame now with tight end. Also, he's being mocked as high as the late second round.
Yeah.
For a guy who split time in college at best.
Yeah.
Oh.
But this JONNU Smith signing doesn't do a whole lot for me.
No, me either.
He'll be around when Hunter Henry needs a breather.
Yeah.
Do we see the revival of the Gronk and Hernandez days with these two?
No.
Colt?
I think that's kind of the scheme, the plan a little bit, the 12
What they're trying to do.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, I mean, you can't replace Gronk and Hernandez in those days. But
Hunter Henry is not Rob Gronkowski, and
no,
JONNU Smith is most certainly not Aaron Hernandez on or hopefully off the field.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think this is what they're kind of going for. They've done it before, so maybe between Belichick and McDaniels, they can orchestrate something, some semblance of that, recapture a little magic with these two. But yeah, I'm not incredibly enthused.
QBs moving silence like lasagna.
So I've heard.
Quoted by Baker Mayfield in a press conference.
So, QB musical chairs. This is not as exciting. It's exciting for us, but for any casual fan, I don't know if this tips any of the scales. For me, I was fascinated to see what the hell happened with the Washington football team and the Chicago Bears. These are two big dominoes for those things.
Yes.
And some of them raise more questions than they provide answers. Ryan Fitzpatrick's the only one to me that provides an answer that tells me that if the Washington football team can't get a first round quarterback, it's not it's not a deal breaker. It's not a game breaker. If they do want a quarterback, they can wait, and they definitely don't need to trade up now.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed. Fitzpatrick will get you through this season. His arm will win you at least 4 games on its own, and his arm will lose you at least 4 games on its own.
Chase Young's good for 1.
Yeah.
So that's 5 wins right there, boys. I think we've got the NFC East in the bag.
They could win that division fairly comfortably next year, honestly.
Yeah.
If Dallas doesn't do anything significant on defense, then the football team could keep that name and win that division with ease.
I actually think, and I made this mistake last year, Ryan and I both did. I think this. Do I want to say this now?
Go ahead.
I think this is going to be a tough division.
We said that, but yeah, we said that before last year too. It was a tough division last year. It was a tough division.
It was a tough division. Yeah. It was a tough division to justify to friends and family why you have it on the television screen.
Yeah.
Can we watch
I
the Home Shopping Network?
Yeah. I like the signing from a fantasy perspective as well, because to me, McLaurin shoots way up in drafts in fantasy. Fitzpatrick he's not about that throwaway life, man. He's going to chug it up. You go get it.
1, 2, hold my dick. Let's go.
Yeah. And they signed Curtis Samuel. I mean, that's a nice addition.
Yeah. Biggest thing about Ryan Fitzpatrick, though, I don't know if you guys know, he went to Harvard. Smart guy.
I have not heard that.
Smart guy.
What was his major?
Smartness. Major in football.
Major in football. Football.
That's pretty rad.
He didn't go there to play school. So Andy Dalton, is this is a stopgap? Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
like always.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it a stopgap enough to hold off the poor decision to trade up by Ryan Pace? I don't think anything can stop Ryan Pace from making poor decisions.
I don't think so.
But does it stop this particular poor decision?
No,
You think they still trade up?
I think they're going to try. They tried to sell the farm for Russell Wilson. Didn't work.
That blew my mind. 3 first. Do you never want to have a first round draft pick again?
It's worked out for the Rams so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. You know.
Then you see what the Saints are going through right now, and you think, maybe not.
The Rams are going to be there very, very soon.
Yes, they are. Andy Dalton is one of the more underwhelming things a Chicago Bears fan would have to endure.
Mm-hmm.
This makes me think about Chicago Bears fans.
Those poor, tortured souls.
Yeah, pretty much.
They never thought that they would long for another Jay Cutler.
They didn't know how good they had it.
Mm.
Does Tyrod Taylor do anything for anyone? And not in the sense of being a starting quarterback, but in the sense of
he may be in a situation where he is the starting quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
So does this tell us anything about the Deshaun Watson situation?
No, it doesn't. They had to have somebody there in case anyway.
Yeah, I think with the other signings, granted, it's a plethora of mediocre wide receivers and running backs. Well, they did sign Philip Lindsay. He's all right. I feel like the Texans are positioning themselves to go into the year without Watson, whether he's on the roster or not.
Yeah, I think they are too, especially with what's going on right now.
And allegations, yeah.
And those allegations,
yeah,
that is troubling.
Yeah.
And if these things go into, shall we say, legal, actual courts instead of a civil suit, if this becomes a case in court, the NFL, very good chance they're going to put him on the commissioner's list. And
Yep.
He's not going to play regardless. They're still going to pay his salary, but he's not going to play. They have to go in with some sort of contingency that he's not going to be there. That's the only way they can operate.
That would have been hilarious if they went ahead and signed Mitch Trubisky.
God, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. I'd rather have Trubisky than Tyrod, honestly.
I would too. And what is the reasoning for Mitch Trubisky being in Buffalo right now?
Yeah, I don't get it either.
No idea.
Well,
That makes zero sense to me.
They came out and said it's going to be good for him as a reset and a restart.
What is this? What is this, charity? What is happening to the Buffalo Bills?
I mean, they signed him for $2.5 million for
that's great.
A top 10 pick. That seems like charity to me, bud.
Oh, weird stuff going on.
Give him a chance to get on his feet. Kind of makes me ill a little bit in my brain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bears
Did they
fans.
cut Matt Barkley as their backup? Do you know?
I do not know the answer to that.
I did not know he was still playing football. If I'm being honest with you. Very attractive man.
Handsome fuck.
Handsome feller. If he didn't go to USC, I guess you can fill in the blank. Just I could tolerate him as a human being. I just assume that he's nefarious.
Sure.
Good word.
Yeah. Okay, Jacoby Brissett.
Brisket?
Jacoby Brisket.
Oh, Brissett. Oh, it's my bad.
Jacoby.
I'm actually okay with that signing. The career backup continues his role in the NFL. Great teammate, good locker room guy who learned the playbook. Brian Flores knows him from their shared time in New England. I think that's a good safe signing for the Dolphins in case Tua gets hurt.
Agreed.
So when he was in Indianapolis, there was a lot of talk of him being a starter in waiting and potential starter. When he was in New England, there was a lot of talk about him being a potential starter down the road. Have we seen enough to where we're comfortable saying that ship has sailed and this is not a threat to Tua?
Yeah, I think that is very much the case. When you can't get your completion percentage out of the mid-50s, you're not going to start in today's NFL.
Okay, facts.
Yeah.
All right. Joe Flacco to the
Love it.
Eagles. Ryan loves it. Colt.
It's safe. It's a safe veteran presence for Hurts. Safe backup.
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan of Flacco, really. I don't think he provides a ton. I will say he's got to be a pretty tough guy. I think he had neck surgery, a season or two ago? And he's still coming back, suiting up. So
he doesn't have a Mike Glennon neck, but he's got quite a neck on him.
He does.
He is an NFL Hall of Fame drawer of pass interference penalties.
That he is.
Just checking. Does this provide any threat to Jalen Hurts?
No,
I don't
zero.
think so.
Before the
Not at all.
season, so you're just saying not at all.
Zero.
No.
Yeah, this one makes me feel nothing.
Numb.
Yep. Just the name Flacco, it sounds like flatline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel much about this.
No. Boring.
Gentlemen, next week we will be continuing this, going over some more signings. There's a lot of big-time free agents left on the board.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to comb through, as there is every year. But we have that the added layer of dealing with a lowered salary cap and coming off of a season in which performance has been taken with a grain of salt because of the circumstances. So this offseason has just a little extra zest, a little extra kick. For those of you chefs out there, we have one in-house, cooks all of our meals.
Yep.
Ryan, I don't know what you're pointing to, bud, but that is going, nope, that's me. There he is. Yeah, there you go.
A lot of one-year deals because that big TV deal, $110 billion over the next 10 years, kicks in 2022. So that salary cap's going to go right back up, and these one-year deals are going to be on prove-it contracts, hoping to sign another big deal.
Also reminds
Go
me,
ahead.
isn't the NFL going to an 18-game season next year, correct?
No, not yet.
No, that has not been
yet.
approved yet. Nope.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
yet. And
I heard some rumblings.
it's not in this television agreement, so that means it's probably another 10 years off, 10 or 11 years away.
Oh, wow.
Going to 18. At least until the end of the CBA, I believe in 2025. They will not be seeing an 18-game schedule.
Okay.
But we will be seeing Paul of the UK's finest football podcast coming up right after the break. We're not talking soccer here, folks. We're talking American gridiron football with the Brits. Next.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Shall We Football Podcast. I'm AJ, and with me is Paul. It's not that professional, Paul. It's really not. We're just going to talk about some nonsense.
Absolutely.
All right, so
That's
this
what
is
I'm
Paul. Paul with the Outside the Huddle podcast. It's a classy interview. This is season 2, episode 7. All right, so Paul, you're part of the Outside the Huddle podcast. Tell me about it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we started last season. We're just 3 guys from the UK. Love it, American football, NFL. Wanted to talk about it some more, so we thought we might as well record it and see if anyone's going to listen. The odd person does, so it's worthwhile, I guess. Yeah, it's been good fun.
Yeah, we had this. We had the same idea. The same. Yeah. Whoever listens. We're still working on that part.
Yeah, of course. But I think the main thing is with something like this is you want to be able to do it, and it's not about the listens. And the most successful podcasts are the ones that don't base themselves off that. The ones that sort of they're doing it because they enjoy it. It's a hobby, and then if anything comes of it, so be it.
That's what we said, is that as soon as this becomes like a pain in the ass, we're done.
Absolutely.
As soon as this becomes like just another thing in the day,
Sure.
that's it. But it's been a lot of fun doing this. We started back in, let's see, September.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been running?
I think we're about the same time, just before the start of the season.
What the pandemic has done to us.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's in the same boat. We've got nothing to do. Let's record ourselves talking nonsense.
That's exactly what it is. We went from just having conversations. So I was like, I'm going to record this and listen to it, and then I'm going to record this, listen to it, and just give it to the world, and they can do with it whatever they want. So, Paul, I have your information here: Twitter, website. We'll put the links in the description of the YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to check that out, you can get it, Paul, on his Twitter. Check out the website, the Pick Six Predictions League. So you mentioned a little bit about the NFL. How does someone from your country get this into the NFL to want to start a podcast about it?
So actually, to be fair, there are quite a lot of us that are that into it. It's growing every day.
I am learning that. I was blown away. I'm learning that. It's fantastic.
I mean, there's a lot of first generation NFL fans at the moment, which is great to see. The international series has definitely helped that. People get to go witness it. The Super Bowl's always been something that people watch, even if they don't necessarily follow the sport. It's more just an American spectacle that everyone enjoys. But yeah, like I said, it's growing daily. Myself, my dad actually got into the sport in the 80s. They're the first generation UK fans. It was on one of our main channels, so a lot of people got into it. So I've actually grown up with NFL being just a common sport in my household. Everyone watches it. Everyone knows about it. So I hadn't thought about doing anything like this, to be honest. I've followed it with my own group of friends for 15 years. But like you say, the pandemic hit and everyone's looking for something to do. So I thought, I don't know, I might set up Twitter, see what people are doing. And I was blown away by the amount of people in a similar position, to the extent that
it's astounding. And you're so right. Getting into we'll talk about the charity league, but getting into you and the group that you bring along, and seeing just how many people, not only how many people, but how into it you guys are, is fantastic. I don't know if you remember NFL Europe. That was 20 years ago now. Do you remember that at all?
It's slightly before my time, but I hear it through my dad. My dad was a fan.
Okay, cool. Very, very good. So I'm, full disclosure, I am a absurd Notre Dame football fan, and every year they go over to Dublin, and I would, first of all, I would love to get to one of those games, but also, like you said, the NFL goes over and does a game it's normally in London. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been to one of those? Have you been around the atmosphere of one of those?
I've been every year, actually.
Have you?
Yeah. I can't remember how long ago the first one is. It feels like 12 years ago. And that was when it was one game a year at Wembley. And now we're getting 3 or 4 games a year, different venues, looking like they're expanding it even further. So yeah, it's great. And one of the best things about it is it doesn't have the same sort of feel as a home and away game, because everyone who's an NFL fan goes and everyone wears their own jersey. So it is more of a celebration of the sport than anything else.
That's fantastic. So you'll see a non-Steelers game, you'll see a TJ Watt jersey.
Oh, absolutely.
That's amazing. Yeah. Just wear the colors. You know what? Sometimes fandom of a particular team just takes the fun out of everything.
Of course. As a soccer fan, a football fan over here, it's very tribal. You support your team
That's a great word. That's a great word.
And it's sort of the best thing about it is how passionate you are about your team. You don't care if you win well or this game's good. You just want to make sure you get the win and get out of there. Whereas for me, anyway, in the NFL, it is more about the sport. I like the fantasy side of things. I'm a Giants fan. I'm sure we'll get into that. But I always want to see the Giants win. But I also can watch a game that has no relevance to the Giants and be fully invested in it because I found the sport first.
Yeah, that's amazing. And sometimes I don't know if you've experienced sometimes my inability and poor skills at fantasy football. I'm okay. I'm being a little facetious, but sometimes that takes away from the enjoyment that I have just watching a game. And I'm like, like I can't watch this. Dalvin Cook. Well, I mean, not last year. Dalvin Cook was a monster, but hypothetically, Dalvin Cook's not doing anything. We got to watch another game. Let's put on basketball.
Okay. Yeah. No, I try to avoid I mean, one of the tricks I've done is if you join loads of fantasy teams, then you probably have shares in everyone, so it really doesn't matter. I can't look at my fantasy leagues whilst the games are on because I just get confused.
That sounds healthy. We don't do those kinds of things over here.
My girlfriend might argue it's not healthy, but
okay, all right. Okay, so we talked about the charity league. What made you think of this? And we'll start with that. What made you think of this?
So it's not. I mean, last year I did a fantasy sort of bracket almost. I did sort of 4 different leagues. Any individual could sign up, and you represented your own charity. So similar to this. And at the end, you sort of had 2 different sleeper leagues, but they were playing in the same final, like a 4-team final. Mm-hmm. And it was a load of fun and raised a lot of money for some good causes. But I have to say, this one actually was an idea of a different UK fan. His name is Phil, and he's part of the Next Man Up podcast who are in this. They're an Eagles podcast. Check them out if you're an Eagles fan, of course.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And if you, like me, you dislike them, you're not a fan of the Eagles.
I do very much dislike them. You link Phil to this. Get Phil in on this. I would love. So it stems from I went to Penn State University, which is like middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Well, we get a ton of people from Philly, and I'm a little older than you. Whenever I went there, the Philadelphia Phillies won the World Series, and half of campus lost their absolute minds. My car got egged 5 miles off campus, and there's 40,000 kids there. 5 miles off campus, still got nailed. I've been holding a grudge ever since. Since. Also, they booed Santa Claus. What are you gonna do?
There's not much to like about them, so you can list many of things, and I'm there for it. But the podcast is great if you're not an Eagles fan because they quite often lose, so you sort of get to tune in. I don't listen when they win, but when they do lose, I'll put it on and just bathe in the glory of it all.
There you go. As a Giants fan, you should. You should. You are entitled to such things.
I think so too. But yeah, he messaged me saying I want to do a podcast charity league, basically, where you get 12 teams. Each one it represents their own charity of choice. Not necessarily a massive charity, whichever one you fancy, of course. But we wanted to make it so that it not only raises money for the winners' charity, which is great, and they get the donation, but also we're sharing the word, if anything, because I haven't heard of a lot of these charities, and now I have, and we're doing a lot on Twitter, and we're sharing it out, and whatever we can do to help these charities, we think every little helps at the end of the day.
It's a fantastic idea, and we're super glad to be a part of it. Glad you guys reached out to us. It's really cool to be starting to be part of this community. It's really neat. So how is there a way that listeners can contribute here? My thought was liking, retweeting, spreading the word potentially on Twitter. Is there another format, another platform, or anything like that you can add?
At the moment, Twitter's the one. I'll retweet the tweet again that Phil did. It's a thread of all of the charities where they're picking in the draft. And when we actually end up doing it, I think what we should do is we tweet out our picks as we're doing it, like a
I think
live.
that's great. And we will have links to all of this in the description on YouTube and see what we can do on our podcast sites.
Perfect.
So absolutely. So Paul, let's get into it. So for those of us listening and not watching on YouTube, Eli Manning, we have a Giants fan here. Is he a Hall of Famer? Look at that face. Is he a Hall of Famer?
It's a lot harder when I'm looking him in the eyes, I have to say. On Twitter, it's much easier just to go, yes, he absolutely is. I know he's flawed. He's not. It depends. It always comes down to the question is, what do you consider a Hall of Famer? For me, success is why we play the sport. He won a Super Bowl twice. There aren't many quarterbacks you can say it, and to say you beat Brady twice is enough for me. I'll try and take my Giants hat off, but I can't. He is absolutely a Hall of Famer.
Well, I don't wear a Giants hat, and neither do either my co-hosts Ryan and Colt. But I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think he's a Hall of Famer. If nothing else, then I remember watching those games. And someone who is not of Hall of Fame caliber talent cannot do the things that Eli Manning was able to do in those two games. Games.
And that's when it matters at the end of the day. You can talk about his regular season stats being below Hall of Fame standard, and they are, but he's been on some shocking teams as well. Let's not remember that. So it's not all fun and games. But when it came down to it, and whenever we got in the playoffs, which wasn't enough, he turned it on. And yeah, I do appreciate the arguments, mainly stat-based arguments about why he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's got 2 rings, and that ticks the boxes for me. Yeah,
well, in our lifetimes, we have seen the removal of the eye test outside of college football. We've seen the removal of the eye test and the implementation of a numbers-heavy analytical game, to where we if you weren't around when a player was playing, all you have to go on are stats. And whereas it seems we're getting closer to a point where you just look at stats, even if the guy has been playing while you're alive.
Yeah.
And Eli Manning is a great example of that.
You're absolutely right. It's there are positives to stats. Obviously, the analytics have a place in the sport, but
sure,
you have to have a gut feeling based on what you can see, because the stats can't. The stats will never provide the full context of everything. It's impossible. The game situation, the luck of each play. I mean, look, we're talking about Eli Manning right now. The helmet catch, it's pure luck. But at the end of the day, it got it done, and the stats will only show that play as a 30, 40-yard completion, and that's it.
Exactly.
There is much more to it.
Exactly. It literally will show a 30 or 40-yard completion. Great completion. That's what 5 points in PPR, 4 points in non-PPR. Whoop-de-doo. Although that might mean a win. I'm not kidding. I lost by that much in the one fantasy league that I actually play for money in, but whatever. Still, yeah, that absolutely doesn't tell the story. All right, so let's get into the NFL free agency. Who won? And I think this is where you should probably insert a little about your Giants.
I think we have. I do. I was discussing it on my podcast with my mates yesterday, and it reeks of a general manager who needs to win. There's no doubt about it. His job's on the line, and he knows it. He's paying the money to do his best to make sure he's still got a job next year. I love Kenny Golladay in general. Big fan of him at Detroit.
Huge.
Not sure.
Goodness.
Is
that the biggest one, Paul? Is that the biggest signing this free agency?
Again, the Giants hat's on, and it absolutely is. We needed one. We've got this core of wide receivers.
We needed one. Yeah, that's well said.
They're all second. They're all wide receiver 2s. Slayton, Shepard, and Tate. They're great. They're not bad options, but none of them are the alpha. And Kenny comes in and he provides the vertical. The jury's still out on Daniel Jones. We all know that, but we're giving him the chance to succeed now.
I was gonna let you bring him up.
I'm not one of them fans that's all in on him because we have to be. I really hope I'm wrong, but
Do you know those people? Do those people exist?
There are people out there that will just blindly have. It doesn't matter. He's the starting quarterback of my team, so not a bad thing can be said about him. But there are a lot more, especially in New York, that want his head. They want him gone.
They want everybody's head in New York.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. You got to take it with a pinch of salt because Giants fans being angry means nothing. It probably means that things are going to plan. So, yeah, I mean, it's not just him. Obviously, we signed Jackson, ADOREE Jackson, the cornerback. Mm-hmm. Nice pickup. Paid quite a bit again. But I'm not a massive salary cap guy. It's not something that's common in British sports. I barely understand it at best. I know players, and I'm happy with who we've got.
Yeah, Galladay's deal was big, but and the question is, was part of that buoyed by Matt Stafford? Can Daniel Jones provide whatever support in terms of ball placement and stuff like that? Can he provide that same thing? I think Kenny Golladay is just that good. Maybe they overpaid. Like you said, Gettleman is fighting for his life right now, and he's already been asked to leave once, and he may be on his way to a second. But in terms of what his job description is, he at least got close. He maybe hit a triple. I don't know if it's a home run, but they made the biggest splash. They made the biggest splash of anyone.
They're I call them sexy signings because they're the ones that everyone's talking about. They're not sly business moves. This is a team that is making a statement that we're going for the playoffs next year, and we want more than just the playoffs. And it's weird to say because over the last 4 years, we've been the worst team in the league, probably, in terms of wins. Take away last year, we definitely were. We sucked pretty much, but in a division that sucks, which is the worst thing about it. Everyone had the window of opportunity there, and no one took it. But if I look purely on paper, we've got a good team. We've got a good roster now. Mm-hmm. The defense is solid. Yeah. There isn't a massive hole in that team, and it means that come draft day, we can look at best player available, which is something I've never been able to say. It's always been whichever O-lineman's there, we will go for him, and then he'll bust, and then the next year we'll do the same thing. But we'll see. I am excited. I think we are one of the winners.
I was having that exact conversation, Paul, with somebody about this being truly a luxury pick in the first round. So that's pretty exciting for you guys. Now, what do you think about the rest of the division? So Anthony Harris goes to the Eagles. He's a little bit he had a down year, but at his best, that's one of the best safeties in the game. You're getting healthy Philly, you're getting a healthy Dak Prescott, and you're getting Ryan Fitzpatrick. I do want to talk briefly about the quarterback carousel. So what do you think about the rest of that division? And then we'll talk a little about the other quarterback nonsense in the league.
It's gone from the laughing stock of the league for the entire season to 4 teams that all have a good chance of making the playoffs, and whether that not is because there isn't a standout anyway, so automatically everyone's got slightly more of a chance. But I really like the Washington this year. I think I'm a massive Curtis Samuel fan. I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter at all, but if Curtis Samuel does something, I get notifications every week because last season was actually, so I joined Twitter pre-season last year, and I picked Curtis Samuel as my guy to rave about. Basically, I think he's a great player. I liked him coming out of college. Mm-hmm. He hasn't hit the scene, and I always thought he's going to. This is the year, and it didn't happen year in year. But now, with the new team, I'm a big fan of the landing spot because it helps not only him, but it helps the offense. Like Terry McLaurin's going to gain from it, no doubt about it, having another option. Ryan Fitzpatrick he's fun. We all know that he's fun to watch. Whether or not he's the guy that brings them to the next level, I'm not sure, but he's definitely not going to make them any worse.
My co-host Ryan put it this way: Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to win you 4 games on his arm alone. Ryan Fitzpatrick's also going to lose you 4 games on his own with his arm alone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why at the end of the day, that's why we all want to watch him. I'm happy he's still in the league. I'm happy he got a place where he can start. I mean, it's a shame it's in the division that I'm in because I now want him to lose. But the thing is with Washington is they're always the lesser of the evils in that division for me. If the Giants are no longer there, I want Washington to win it because Dallas and Philadelphia are the teams I'm hoping are below us at all points.
Yeah, they're very easy to dislike.
Yeah. Whereas Washington, Washington have had their own scandals in recent years, but throughout history, they're the one I hate the least, the lesser of the evils.
So let me ask you this side note real quick. We have talked about, instead of permanently keeping the Washington football team, which I'd be fine with, what about the Washington Football Club?
I'm Washington FC.
Washington FC.
Yeah. I'm fine with it. It rolls off the tongue. I'm used to that.
I think it does.
Yeah, I wasn't a massive hater of the Washington Football Club. I wasn't keen on it for the first sort of hour it came out.
Yep.
But the more as the season went on, it suited them. I'm fine with it.
It seems like a big inside joke that we're all in on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Right. It feels like an inside joke that we all get to enjoy together. So we love Alex Smith over here. We are huge Alex Smith fans because he almost died. And then he went back out on the football field to potentially almost die again. And the Washington football team just dicked him up and down afterwards. I'm not okay with that. And I want to see him go somewhere and beat the Washington football team. Now, I'm happy Ryan Fitzpatrick got a spot, like you said.
No, you're right. It's one of the greatest sporting stories of all time was that comeback. And there wasn't a single person that was hoping he lost, no matter what the context of it was. It was just, we're witnessing greatness. So I'd love to see him go to a team again next year. And I'm not sure a team takes the chance on him, but given the current quarterback market, it might be one of the safest options.
Yeah.
You're either going to pay an absolute bomb for someone or get someone in who's probably going to go to prison. So I'd avoid it.
Yeah. Whoa. Forgot about that one. So actually on that note, the quarterback carousel, Tyrod Taylor is out there, and that's just one of the dominoes that have fallen. Andy Dalton is now a Chicago Bear in their perpetual state of mediocrity. Andy Dalton is now carrying the torch. And there's a couple other that have moved around outside of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Who registers on you? Who makes you say, that's a thing that's worth thinking about?
There's a couple. Obviously, it's the main talking point of the offseason is we're going to have at least 15 teams with a new quarterback, it seems. And I'm a big Matt Stafford fan. It's always been the one for me is the could be guy. If he had a roster and now he's got it, and I'm all in on it because I love the Rams roster. I'm a massive Goff hater, so I was saying how much of an incredible achievement is that they managed to even get to the playoffs with Goff, despite their roster being amazing. And now they've got the one guy who's been looking for a roster. It just seems like the perfect match, and I'm very excited to see how it goes. But they're in a tough division.
We are huge Matty Snapback fans here. Good. Humongous Matty Snapback fans here. And we are thrilled to see him get out of the state of Michigan. He deserves it. He is an all-time trash talker, which big fans of. He's not as clean as Phillip Rivers is, but sometimes you need to get your hands dirty a little bit. So we've talked a little bit here. So question for you, what current NFL quarterback has the most punchable, stupidest face? And Paul, there is a correct answer.
Oh, so I'm going to just say the first thing that came to my head, and it is probably because of the most recent year, but Tom Brady was the first guy that came.
Okay. All right. That makes sense to me. Incorrect, though, Paul. It is
I didn't
incorrect.
think it.
And I'll show you who it is. It's Drew Lock, frat boy
Really?
at large and professional twerp. Just take a look at these faces.
See, I would have taken a long time to get to him, but you're not because you're wrong. Because I would take that long to get to him in a list of any quarterbacks because he's pretty irrelevant to me.
Very irrelevant, extremely irrelevant. And I don't know how we came to this on the podcast, but our fantasy expert Colt. You know what I was going to say? We say that lightly. Colt is a damn good. He will be leading the charge for our fantasy team. He once said, Drew Lock has a very stupid face. He looks like a twerp. All due respect, Drew Lock. It's an appearance thing. It might not say as much about your character. Don't know that, but your face is very punchable, and you seem. It's all we have to go on. You seem twerpy, Drew. You seem a little twerpy, and I don't know what that word means. It just makes sense in my heart.
No, I'm nodding along, just listening to it. I don't think I'll ever look at Drew Lock the same.
You can't. You just can't. So with that being said, who's had the Drew Lock of off seasons?
Good question. It's hard. I get a lot of my information from Twitter, and if you go by that, then everyone, because no one's ever happy with anyone.
That's a real good answer. I'm from Pittsburgh, and I'm a Steelers fan.
Okay.
They haven't had, it hasn't been catastrophic, but they haven't had a great offseason. No splashes, and they just cut Steven Nelson, which confused all of us in the greater Allegheny Pittsburgh area.
Yeah. I'd also say I'm not sure. I haven't got the whole picture of the Bills, but I'm intrigued as to why they didn't go harder for a running back this year. Just the way I look at their team is they've got this window of opportunity, the way their division is, and the Josh Allen contract is that this is their peak point for me. This is their year to go at it again, and I'd be spending the money on a stud. Not a stud necessarily, because there's not many about, but a good free agency option to get that team rolling, because that was their one weakness for me last year.
So they re-signed Matt Milano. They re-signed John Feliciano. I think I'm saying that right. And they re-signed Darrell Williams. So they've what they believe to have been shored up the offensive line. I'm a Steelers fan. I watched them in the playoffs. Poor Josh Allen was running for his life that whole game. It was he looked very uncomfortable. Well, they signed these guys, and to your point, I think they might be going after that running back in the late first round, perhaps Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, something like that.
I would love that. I'm a Giants fan, as I said, but if I had a second team, which I claim to, it's the Bills because my dad supports them. I went out to a game in Buffalo when I was, I must have been 6 years old. We went to see the Bills versus the Raiders. And I mean, not going too much into it, people were astonished that we flew out to Buffalo for a game of football. We became minor celebrities in the town because everyone was mind. My dad had chosen to actually fly out there for a game.
So a side note, is that the only game you've been to in the States? Have you been to other ones?
It is. I've been out to the States a few times, and it's either not been in season or I haven't been in the right place at the right time. It's on the bucket list.
There you go. Absolutely. So we have a couple losers for Drew Lock's faces of the NFL offseason. I think we would be remiss if we didn't bring up the Houston Texans.
Yeah. But they're the losers of everything.
Yeah. How the tables have turned for them. The mismanagement of draft picks and having not Bill Belichick split time between general managing and coaching. And we see what benefits they have reaped from such things. Now, I see when I was at Penn State, Bill O'Brien came in right after Joe Paterno left that place, an absolute disaster for whatever you think. Not saying it was or was not on Joe. What I'm saying here is that place was a nightmare afterwards. The whole campus and the athletic department was in shambles. Bill O'Brien came in and lifted that entire athletic department based on the football team, lifted them up, brought a small amount of respectability back when they've grown since. And I thought Bill O'Brien has it. And it seems like he peaked, and it's been a slow and then a meteoric fall from grace.
A cliff dive at the end. Yeah, I'm actually not. I don't mind the Texans. I'm not happy. I'm not enjoying seeing them be this abysmal. There are teams that I would love to see it happen to, but yeah, this is. I'm not. I don't enjoy it anymore. Not going to lose any sleep over it. I can't say that, but
yeah,
it's not necessarily the most. It's just that you feel for their fans. I definitely felt for a few of their players last year, and it includes who I'm now happy to see free of that burden.
Yeah, what that team, especially JJ Watt, did for that city after the disaster there, was really remarkable. And now to see the tables turn as they have is just kind of sad. But they were, without a doubt, losers of this offseason, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, just losers is fine.
Losers, full stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul, this is the last thing we're going to do here. It's pronunciation time. So my roommate can't pronounce anything at all. He can't do Tagovailoa.
Okay.
I mean, he can't even do that one, which is just remarkable. He's a relatively intelligent guy. It's absurd. He can't pronounce anything. So you look at this list. Fear, scale of 1 to 10. Where are you?
7.
7.
Solid
okay.
7.
I was hoping it would be somewhere between a 7 and a 5. 7 is a little high.
Okay, to be honest, it's probably close to a 5.
Close to a 5. Excellent. We don't
I don't set a high standard. No one's expecting much from me.
English is hard, Paul. English is hard. Okay, so we have the first name here. He's the current Clemson quarterback, and his dad actually was a famous bodyguard for stars like Miley Cyrus and others. Okay. Can you pronounce that name?
Disclaimer: yet to really get into college football, and that is actually one of my sort of aims for the next season, is to get more into it. I'm talking about picking a team and things like that.
Well, Notre Dame is available if you would so choose.
If Mick's listening, he'll be happy to hear that. He's one of the guys that I interact with who's a big Notre Dame fan. But I'm going to go just straight into it. DJ, I got that bit right, I'm sure.
That is an excellent start, Paul.
Ukulele?
I love that one. It's slightly close. It's Uyunglele.
Well, that's just, there's too, no.
It's absurd. It's absurd. Well, so my roommate, I always forget what he says. You know what? It's going to come back to me. I have to ask him to repeat it every time. It's even better than your attempt right there.
Can you say it again for me?
Uyunglele.
There's just a gap in the U and the I and the A that doesn't need to be there. There's no. So when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, so them 3 first letters are one sound. They got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the rest I'm probably going to just do all of this phonetically apart from the one beginning with X. But
this is going as perfectly as I hoped it would. So That's DJ Uyunglele, Clemson quarterback. That is a future number 1 overall pick, by the way. If you haven't seen him, he is phenomenal. He was a true freshman last year and threw for the most yards that a quarterback has ever thrown for against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And Notre Dame was ranked in the top 5, and they were playing at home when he did that. So he is a superstar. All right, so the next name. This is a Notre Dame player.
Okay.
How about this one?
Jeremiah. Owosu Koromoa.
Well done. Well played, Paul. perfect.
Okay.
The syllables were crisp, and it was amazing. So that is a first-round pick if you're not familiar with him.
I have heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, he will likely
cheap.
be a first-round pick. He is fantastic. If you remember Isaiah Simmons, very similar to him, a little bit bigger. Will play closer to the line of scrimmage. Great player. So the third one here is one you definitely know.
YANNIK NGAKOUE.
That's exactly right. Well done, Paul. Moving swiftly forward. Okay,
Yeah.
so this one, I think you should know this. Full disclosure, I don't know how to pronounce this.
So I know how to spell it, and I've said it a few times on Twitter, but saying it I've never had to do. So I am clueless. I don't know where I'm going to go with this either. I might just start reading and see where my mouth takes me. But O'Shane, I'm going to say Jimenez because I don't know, and I'm going to pretend that the X is just a J because that looks like a real name.
Well, Paul, I don't know how to pronounce this. If I'm being honest with you, so that is correct. Well done, Paul. Well done. Okay, so the next one is a cornerback for a first-round pick last year for the Miami Dolphins. He played some slot corner alongside Byron Jones and Xavier Rhodes, two of the best cornerbacks in the league. He is fantastic. He's out of Auburn. What is his name?
His name is Noah.
Well played.
This one's gonna. Even if I'm right with this one, it's gonna sound ridiculous. Igbinogene.
That is ridiculously close. It is Noah Igbenogany. That is very close given that spelling. I'll give you a couple claps for that one. So this one here, as a fantasy football player, you probably know this gentleman. He's a wide receiver for the New England Patriots. What's his name?
Gunnar Olszewski?
So
Kazuki?
Phonetically, absolutely. Is that what his parents intended for the pronunciation of his last name? It is Olszewski. Gunnar Olszewski. Just like Mike Krzyzewski, the Duke coach from Durham, who is just 30 minutes that direction from me. Gunnar Olszewski, very much
that
in the
one
mold.
I feel like I could have got. That's the first one I've thought to myself. Yeah, I should have got that one. The rest I couldn't care less. I know this name as well. I don't know who he actually is, but I recognize the name.
All right, fire away. What do you got?
Oh, I didn't even look at the first name. That bit's hard as well. I've been fine with the first name so far. Sean? Taki?
Taki. Perfect. Well done. Yeah. This is the Cleveland Browns linebacker, Sione Taki. And I said that with a fair amount of confidence, Paul. I'm not 100% sure his name is Sione.
See, I've done myself in there because I've gone phonetic the whole way through, and I thought, no, this one, I'm going to just guess that it's not phonetic.
We're throwing curveballs, Paul. We're playing chess, not checkers.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, so the second to last here, this is a Stanford linebacker. He plays for the Indianapolis Colts. Lovely first name, very easy. Lovely last name, not so easy. What do you got?
That is Bobby Okereke.
But damn close. That was one clap, and I give you another. And last but not least, this is a kicker from UCLA. I don't even know who the hell he plays for right now because I don't really pay attention to kickers.
I've got
fantasy
him in a few teams, but like I said, it's never been tested on my pronunciation of it. So,
what do you got?
I didn't know that was his first name either.
So actually, Paul, his first name is about as long as this entire list of names. But we decided to shorten this one a bit to what you see on when he's on your fantasy team because that's fair.
That's very kind. Kaimi Fairbairn, and I don't know if that's right.
So yeah, that is right. A whole bunch. I actually had to have my co-host tell me how to pronounce this yesterday. It's Kaimi or Kaimi, one of the two. It's close enough. Plaudits for you. Well done, Paul. All right, so a huge shout out to Paul and a big thanks for being with us. Here's Paul's info. You can follow him on Twitter. You can check out his website, listen to the podcast, the Outside the Huddle podcast, and then check out the Fantasy Football Charity League. It's presented by Paul and Phil, who was mentioned earlier. That's Paul is at fantasy _NFL UK, and Phil is at PMOUNT Stevens STEPHENS. That's PMOUNT STEPHENS. And you can see all the fine charities involved here. Paul, fantastic, man. What did you think? Do you have any last words?
That was much more fun than I thought it was going to be. I really enjoyed it. I'm more than willing to come back on at some point because I enjoyed it.
Hell yes, absolutely. And we're going to send it over to Ryan to take us home. Thanks for being with us, Paul.
Cheers, man.
Great conversation with Paul from the UK and Outside the Huddle, his podcast on American football from across the pond. Good stuff getting to chat with our colleagues and friends over there. Thanks for listening to the Shall We Football Podcast. You can find and subscribe to the Shall We Football Podcast on any major platform, Apple, Spotify, Google. Every episode of the Shall We Football Podcast also available in video format on YouTube alongside other content. So like, subscribe, press the notification bell to be alerted every time we upload. We will be waking you up in the middle of the night. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SWF_podcast. That is at SWF_podcast. Gentlemen, what's the answer to the question? Shall we football?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Colt just dropped a fuck bomb. I liked it.
He did.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is nice.
Good night, folks.